Let's get this shit show started. Uh,
We didn't talk about what's the fuck either last week.
you talk about who?
Um, Epstein's girl,
Oh yeah, you want to start it off with that?
or no, not Epstein's girl. The other dude,
The French guy,
the French guy.
his pimp.
Fuck, they're all pedophiles. So
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Jake.
I'm Drake.
This is the Jake and Drake show, and we are
Looks
talking.
like we got an intro this week too.
Yeah, we did. Well, 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We're talking about pedos, I guess. Kind of.
Well, no, I guess we're just glossing over it because people forget about strange shit that happens within a few days, especially since now we're going to war, right?
We're not going to war. We're not going to war. Joe Biden wants Ukraine to burn it down to the ground, but we'll get to that. So what's up with what would you want to talk about with the pedo specifically?
Nothing specifically, just it's kind of strange that the cameras were turned off in his cell as well.
I think they were working before, right? Like I think
So they stuck him in a cell that had cameras that didn't work.
I don't think they changed themselves. I just think that they weren't turned on when that happened, and he was on suicide watch, and then magically he wasn't.
Yeah.
Now, and here's what I want to know. I want to know. Okay, are they legit hanging themselves? Like, are they coerced, or does somebody hang them for them? You know what I mean?
I would think the easiest way to do it would be like, listen, you have family and loved ones outside, and if you're not dead by tomorrow morning, XYZ. I think that's easier than getting somebody in than Hillary going in herself and hanging them.
Well, it could be one of the guards, right?
Right. But still, I think it is less evidence. If any, if they actually do a real investigation, then the evidence will point to hanging themselves.
Death
But
by hanging.
that coerced suicide isn't really suicide.
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
So.
But I mean, I don't know. All right, like if I coerced you to do something, if you did something on coercion, right? If you committed a crime, you could still be prosecuted for committing a crime even though you were coerced to do it, right? Like
Right.
maybe you would fight like the sentencing portion, but it still remains that you stole money or you murdered somebody. That doesn't change, right? So if you hanged yourself, even under coercion, technically you still suicided, yeah?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's why an investigation will point to suicide, and you did. You took your own life. However, it still is murder as well, because if you don't do this, if you don't hang yourself by the end of this day, when the cameras are off, then we're going to kill your brother, and we're going to, kill your girlfriend, your blah blah blah, and just running down the list of people that would be dead. And I am wondering if that's one of the reasons Ghislaine isn't dead yet, is that she doesn't have anybody that she cares about outside any longer. Jeffrey was her whole life.
Mm. Yeah, but women are also less likely to commit suicide. Period. Statistically, like when you look around the entire world, roughly what women make up like 51% of the population, and men are like 49. Even factoring that 2% in, men are significantly more likely to kill themselves, and men do it in the worst ways, right? Women would poison themselves or cut their wrist, sit in a bathtub kind of thing, whereas men would be like, yeah, I'm just
Picking
gonna
up information on the Clintons.
fucking, I'm gonna blast my brains out, I'm gonna hang myself. Women tend to drown them, like they take like a peaceful option. Women are less likely to do it. No balls, right? No balls, you won't do it. So I don't know. I was thinking about that too. I was like, well, she hasn't suicided. Obviously, it could be that she just doesn't have enough information. I mean, and now you bring in another thing. Maybe she just doesn't have anybody on the outside to be coerced, or maybe the custody that she's under. Maybe the people that actually have her in custody are uh, real 100% law abiding, people that wouldn't be subjected to corruption from, the elite pedophiles, right? I don't know. Like, where is she in prison anyway?
I don't know
You
off
don't
the top of
know.
my head.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows what was, that was like,
No,
nobody knows anything. Nobody knows what information she gave. I don't even think anybody knows what the sentence handed out was, right? And I think I remember hearing that, like, oh, in federal cases like these, normally you're not going to get any information on stuff. It's just like, well, that's convenient, you know. But if somebody's probably most likely to talk, it would probably be the woman, right? Like the woman would probably sing, and she's probably in protective custody. Either she doesn't have anything, or she's sung, and they're keeping her alive to testify. Who knows? But yeah.
yeah, they haven't shared that information because I mean, what the fuck, man? You can identify all these people from photographs at the quote unquote insurrection,
Mm-hmm.
but not the elite pedophiles who were banging kids that are in have names in their books.
Mm-hmm. And there was a bit of information that I didn't think of, and it was like, well, what was so pressing about this guy suiciding himself? And it was more having to do with
She's
it.
at MDC in Brooklyn, New York, Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn.
Mm. But the guy, the French guy, Jean-Luc or whatever the fuck his name was, he supposedly had a lot of dirt on the royal family.
No, yeah,
So yeah, but whatever. Who knows? I mean, it's really a matter of time, right? We'll find out in due time if she kills herself. I doubt she'll kill herself though. I think you brought up a good point. She doesn't really have anybody, maybe. And I also think that women are
she'll get
just
shit. She's gonna get shivved in the showers or something
maybe, yeah.
because they don't have any leverage on her.
Right. So that hers will be a homicide then. Yeah. Well, interesting. Well, before we get into the nitty gritty, you want to wrap up your week? How did your week go? Did you take your ass back into the gym? Are you back into yoga?
Yeah, yeah. I'm back in my physical regime. Just exhausted, tired, sore. Everything hurts after about a month of off time.
Mm-hmm. 1 month of off time, and yeah, a little lazy muscle, a little lactic acid. Just get back into it. Be touching your toes in no time with your knees straight. So what's
I
up
have a
with?
cat crying at my door.
Oh no.
Hold on a second. God dang it. Fine, come on in. Just gotta be nice.
How many cats you got in there with you right now?
Oh, just the one. I usually lock them out because they get noisy. They don't like being locked in when they close up the door and everything.
That's why you need to hurry up and get your own place, and then you could put a cat door in your office.
Oh no. And they come in and make noise. That's why I have the door closed, is because they, you know.
So they come in, and then they make noise, and then they want to get out.
Right. There you go. Now I've got a cat in my lap, and she's purring and demanding I pet her. I'll probably hear some
Mm,
pitiful mews when I
mm,
stop petting her.
kitty,
Or you can hear her purrs even.
kitty. So, oh come on, man. Just rubbing it in that I don't have my cats with me. That's all you're doing. Um. So yeah, the obvious elephant in the room is Ukraine.
War. War never changes.
I'm telling you, man. They just want to go to war.
Who's that? Who wants to go to war?
Everybody. Think about it. Okay, economy's struggling. We need a war. Let's go fight with Russia.
Is that your take?
That's the basic dumbed down version of it. I mean, honestly, from the get go, I want to be clear. I don't think Russia should have invaded Ukraine. I think it was a terrible, terrible move on Putin's part, and it started off a new Cold War, which maybe is his actual plan. He doesn't give a fuck. He just wants to start this off and have a wartime economy of his own. But I think it was really, really. I just he shouldn't have done it. However, I know that Ukraine aren't the good guys necessarily either. They're not just sitting there instantly. Oh, we're just sitting here doing nothing, and all of a sudden Russia came in here and fucked us. No.
What's your reasoning for that? Like, what did they do to Russia?
Well, no, it's not Russia's, but they're the separatist regions. What is it? Donetsk and Luhansk or whatever. Donetsk, I don't know, whatever. Those two separate regions, the ones that Putin originally was reinforcing. Back, what year was that? I don't know. The Minsk agreement or Minsk protocol, 2014. Ukraine's been violating that for years and been shelling the region for years when they're supposed to have stopped. And it's like they I don't know. It's all bullshit. And I do think that Tulsi said it best when they were talking about that, and she's basically like, "Hey, Ukraine is not a true democracy. They're shutting down oppositions, arresting the opposition leaders, shutting down TV stations that challenge them and stuff like that. It's bullshit."
Oh,
And
you mean like the U.S. does?
well, I mean, to an extent, but a little bit more blatant even, like shutting. It'd be like if the Secret Service went in and shut down Fox News, or went in and I don't know whatever, shut down. I can't think of more than one conservative
Well, I mean,
leading.
you had a lot of people voicing their opinions about vaccines that were silenced on social media platforms.
The
You
social media platforms is a little bit different. We can talk about it another time. That's a whole conversation.
I don't know, man. You can keep a terrorist on Twitter, but you can kick off the president. You can say that they're social media platforms, but they act like publishers and they enjoy Section 230 provisions. So Yeah, we could talk about that, but that's essentially what's. And then you have people openly, you have those CNN guys that are openly beefing with Fox, and they're asking people to shut down Fox, right? And you got what?
Yeah, but they're not actually shutting down Fox. If this was Ukraine, they would have shut down Fox,
Hmm. Well, they kind of
and they would
did.
have
So,
and they would have arrested Trump before he became the president or whatever.
well, they tried. They tried. It's not like it didn't happen. They tried, and they tried twice. Okay, so let's get that straight. They didn't succeed, but they tried. And also, there's like, I don't know if it was Newsmax or it was One America News. That's also like one of those up and coming conservative cable network television show or television channels. And I think it was Dish or it was AT&T. One of those removed. They removed that channel. Conspiracy theories and whatever reasons the democratic arm of the government that is the media, the legacy media. So that did happen. So that to some extent it kind of happens here. So we're definitely not Ukraine, but we are fucking dirty. And Tulsi said it, which means if Tulsi said it, she said it on Fox because CNN and MSNBC and all those other channels won't have Tulsi on because.
Now she said it on Rumble.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Rumble. That's the. Is that like the? That's the one that's like that wanted Joe Rogan, right?
I don't recall.
I think they're a podcast platform, I believe.
I mean, it's 44 seconds. I could play it.
I mean, play it if you want to play it. Go ahead.
Give me a second.
Now, here's something you are not going to hear on the mainstream media. What you do hear is warmongers arguing that we must protect Ukraine because it is a quote-unquote democracy. But they're lying. Ukraine isn't actually a democracy. For example, to hold on to power, Ukraine's president shut down the 3 TV stations that were openly criticizing him and his policies, imprisoned the head of the opposition political party that had come in second place in their elections, and went and arrested and jailed that party's leaders. This is exactly what Putin has been accused of doing. But Ukraine did this all with the support of the United States.
So yeah.
Well, I feel you, dude. Like I don't. I feel you in the sense of like it's not our business, but
You're right. It's not our business, but NATO's getting involved.
I'm not even gonna say
And
NATO. We got involved in the '90s, bro. We cut off their balls when Clinton was president. We made them make a deal with Russia. Essentially, we didn't make them, but we kind of pressured them into getting rid of their nukes. And Ukraine had a lot of fucking nukes, and that was Russia's biggest thing. Like, well, we're scared for our lives because Ukraine has a lot of nukes. And then Clinton went in there and brokered a deal where Ukraine was going to disarm their nukes, and the agreement was that Russia was going to leave them alone. So, yeah, I mean, we're kind of responsible for some of this, right? And then when Bush was president, uh, the Soviet Union, well, the former Russia, invaded what was it, like Georgia? And then when Obama was president, they invaded Crimea or annexed it. And then when Trump was president, they didn't do shit. And then when Biden was president, they waited nicely till after the Olympics to do anything. But um, I think a lot of things that happen, the average American just doesn't know how much we affected, like whatever happened in other countries. Like maybe there's like a dictatorship that's established in Zimbabwe or something like that. And if you really follow some kind of money trail or something somewhere, you can find out that our sphere of influence extends far beyond what people really want to know, right? Because yeah, we're an awesome country. We're the best country in the world, but we do a lot of dirty shit. We do a lot of dirty shit. I think you agree with that, yeah?
No, absolutely. I mean, we've done the same shit that Russia has. I don't know how many times. They're talking about Russia. In the few days that Russia's been attacking uh, Kiev, we had airstrikes in Syria and uh, fuck, what was the other place? But no one's talking about that shit. We're just as bad. And
I wouldn't
what if
say just as bad, dude. We're not Putin. We don't we don't rule like Putin does. We're not just as bad. And we invent shit. We do a lot of good stuff.
well, hey man, everybody's comparing Putin to Hitler right now, and everyone's compared Trump to Hitler, so
Yeah, but people
it,
that
it,
compare Trump to Hitler are fucking delusional. They're either
we're, we
delusional or
we
hyper
we are
focused.
we are pretty bad. We are very fucking bad, and we need to leave the rest of the world the fuck alone.
Well, that's the problem, right? That's the balance. So if we leave the world alone to deal with its own problems, at some point it's going to be your problem because the whole world is just connected. Like that's the delicate part. Like I don't want people to die. I don't want Americans to die. But there's a world war and we didn't get involved and we sold weapons and then we got involved. And there was another world war and we sold weapons and then we got involved. So what happens if we never got involved? Then the world would look a lot different. And if the world looks a lot different, then it looks a lot different. I mean, if you leave things alone, that's like that principle, like that altruistic, let it happen, right? And who's to say it would be worse today than it would been, had you like done something, like if you, I don't know, what happens if we didn't get involved in Korea? What happened there? Like North Korea is essentially the whole peninsula, and we don't have a strong ally in that region, and you don't get a lot of cool stuff from South Korea.
Japan.
Uh, well, Japan is
It's
actually
not. It's not even. It's not in closer striking range to China. You mean?
well. I'm just saying everything. I'm not talking about just military. I'm talking about look at all the great things you got out of South Korea. I mean, you could only really set up a democracy in countries that at least have like the moral, the religious, and the moral base that would support a democracy, which is
Well,
what.
that was all part of. But we got involved in Korea because of the whole communist,
Mhm,
movement, and we were trying to shut down communism around the world, and
mhm.
yada yada, because it's antithetical to our belief in democracy and freedom and whatnot. So
Right, and
either way, I
what we
still
did.
think
Oh, go ahead.
I still think we need to fucking leave people alone.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is like the problem is like most of the countries that we have beef with, they're not democratic countries. So you look at Russia, you look at China, you look at North Korea, you look at Argentina, you look at all those, or Venezuela, excuse me. You look at like all those countries that are death to America, even some of the Middle Eastern countries, like they're not democracies. So they in themselves present a threat, and if they spread, kind of like a causation thing, if that
Oh, but the Middle East, they've got oil, so we can deal with their dictatorial type regimes
it depends on the country though, right?
as long as they give us their oil.
But it has nothing to do with them giving us the oil. The situation with the Middle East is a little bit different. Like Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, like all those countries have a lot of oil, and in order to maintain superpower status, Russia is the second producer of oil, right behind OPEC. So that being said, is nobody lives in those countries, and they could be easily conquered. I guess like anybody in that area could conquer them fairly easily. They're just giant sandboxes with oil in the ground. And the deal is like, so you're going to sell your oil, that's cool, but we will protect you. And the catch is people have to buy oil in dollars. So that forces other countries, especially Western countries, when they buy oil from OPEC, they have to complete the transaction in U.S. dollars. They can't do it in euros. They can't do it in marks. They can't do it in rubles. They can't do it in dinars. They have to purchase it in dollars, which means they have to trade with the U.S. So that forces like those countries, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, anybody that buys oil from OPEC, to engage in commerce with us, which puts our shit on their market. Which that's the deal. That's the dirty deal that not a lot of people know. Everybody thinks it's just yes, we are obligated to go bail them out if Russia were to invade Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or Qatar or whatever other OPEC country there is. But what does that do for us? Remember, there's no allies. There's just countries with similar interests, right? Like I have an interest, you have an interest, we're allies. But at the end of the day, normal countries, not ours, normal countries will put their own country ahead of another country. Us on the other hand, we just say fuck ourselves continuously. We just like smelling our own farts and having a moral superiority, which doesn't get far with people like Putin. But that's why the thing is in the Middle East. But you do look at countries that have that dictatorship, that tyrannical government, the absolute authoritarianism. Like they do present a problem to us because those are the countries we fight. We don't fight with England. We don't fight with Italy. We don't fight with Germany. We don't fight with France. We don't fight with any of those countries that elect leaders. They're polite societies, as the best I could say. We go to meetings, we go to summits, and we discuss things with them. We discuss trade, we discuss climate catastrophe or whatever the fuck. That's what we do. These other countries, they don't give a fuck. There's a dude in charge, and he's a bully, and he wants your shit, and he's going to take your shit, and you got to punch him in the mouth. That's what you do with them. So that then again brings me to getting involved in foreign wars. I don't think it should be necessary. I think NATO should step up and do something. I don't know what. I'm not a strategic war planner, but I just find it very disturbing that nobody in Europe is really doing anything. The sanctions they're putting on Russia, they still haven't stopped their banking. They haven't put any sanctions on the banking.
They just did stop their SWIFT or drop their access to the SWIFT system.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge mistake. I think what that's going to do is it's going to push Russia to develop their own with all the what do they call other rogue nations.
So Iran and China, North Korea maybe.
Yep, and then they're going to make it. Well, if you want to do business with them, you have to get on board with our system. And if China fucking said, "Oh, this is the only system we're using now," and basically said to the U.S., "Well, we're not doing business with you anymore unless you get onto this network," we'd have to. We get so much from China.
We get so much from China because we choose to, though. Where were we before? Well, where were we before, the 90s? Like, we were doing just fine. Now, granted, we did a lot better.
And when did you say we were doing just fine?
Prior to the 90s. The 90s is when I'm saying, like, the 80s, we were kicking ass.
Okay, right. So the problem is now we chose to in the past, and now we have become reliant on them.
Oh, I agree.
China cut off trade with us tomorrow, we'd be fucked.
I don't think we'd be fucked. We do have a capitalistic...
You just froze.
Oh, I'm still moving. Can you hear me? Hello?
Or is that my system freezing?
You can hear me, right? Hello.
Sounds like you're back.
Yeah, every so often I have to relog into the the fucking hotel Wi-Fi, but
They'll reactivate the portal.
yeah, basically. But as you were saying, would we be fucked? We would be fucked. But the cool thing about our somewhat capitalistic economy, it would take a minute. It would take, a year, 2 years. It would suck. You wouldn't get all your bullshit on Amazon. But we still buy our oil. Like China doesn't produce oil. Nope, they don't. Okay, what else do we need? So we need oil. We need food. We produce a lot of our own food.
But what other countries does China trade with?
Well, yeah, but that's the point of the World War, right? Like the point is like you have your allies. So China would band up with basically all the dictatorships. So Russia, we don't really get much from Russia except oil. Um, they would band up with North Korea. Okay, so we don't deal with North Korea at all. They would band up with Cuba, I guess. Good luck with that, because Cuba doesn't have much to offer. Like it would be us versus them, and we have the pocketbook. Yeah, we have the debt too. We have the credit card debt, but we also have the wealthiest countries on our side. You have NATO.
Yeah, we've also got Russia. There was an article. I wish I had saved that, talking about Putin forming a central bank,
Okay.
and that leads me to believe that they're gonna start their own non-Rothschild owned system and just kind of do it that way.
But you have to look at who their customers are. So trading with yourself, okay, cool, right? But trading with China's a big country and they have a lot of people, but that GDP is shit. Per capita, one of the worst in the world. I think it's terrible. North Korea, terrible. All those dictator companies, okay, but it's like, what do those? There's no other well-developed country that's offering anything. If the war were to start next week, and there was a like, that's the thing. Is like the only thing that Russia has are nukes. That's the only thing I think anybody is afraid of. Is that Putin's somewhat crazy? Korea's somewhat crazy. We don't know how crazy China is. We just know that they're very ambitious and they're ruthless, but we don't know how crazy they are. So I think that's the only thing to fear. I wouldn't fear the banking system. I wouldn't fear, them embargoing us, because at some point I think there would be enough pressure from Congress if there was a war, and even if we weren't involved directly, like, I think they would turn back on Keystone. I think going in a second term or second year of his first term, I think President Biden just can't afford to. I mean, because then you're talking like, all right, well, then they kick him out of office because he's like, where are we going to get our oil? We're going to get it from OPEC and we're going to get it from Russia. Well, Russia's off the table, so now it's just OPEC, and then OPEC's going to be, obviously, the demand is going to be huge because Russia's no longer on the table for 66% of the world. I don't know. It'd be interesting. It really would. I just don't know what to tell you. I think we have to get involved. I think weak leadership leads to this kind of shit happening. At least Trump said, if you do anything, I'll blow up Moscow, and that was enough for him to not do shit for 4 years. Biden takes office, cuts off our energy independence. It's just mind baffling. And the crazy part is, why did he cut off Keystone? Because of climate people, right? That was the whole point. Like, oh, we need to save the environment. It's okay, so we're not polluting the environment, but the rest of the oil producing countries are. What does that do for us? It makes our gas more expensive, and it makes us, it's a liability for us if we ever get into it with that country. It's just silly. So terrible presidenting, if you ask me, but nobody asked me. I don't know, man. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you're sure? Absolutely. Just leave it alone and see what happens. Is that the answer?
I would much strongly prefer that, personally. Um, let them sort themselves out. I don't think Russia's the boogeyman like people make them out to be. I think they just want that, they just want what everybody else wants, and that's just to do their own shit, increase their own influence in the world, and you know, sell their wares.
But did they have to invade another country to do that?
Well, what their excuses and reasonings are that Ukraine's violating the Minsk agreements,
Mm-hmm.
because they've and they have been.
Mm-hmm.
They've been shelling the whole Donbass region when they weren't supposed to. They're using weapons they weren't supposed to. And it's so essentially, if you're saying, if you say that ratified agreement is quote unquote law, then Ukraine was committing war crimes. And I'm not saying, when I name companies, when I say Russia, when I say China, and when I say Ukraine, things like that, even when I say the United States, I'm talking about the leadership, not the people. Because that's the problem. You've got all these leaders swinging their dicks around, and who are the ones who are going to be the ones dying?
Mm-hmm.
The citizens, the people. All because the leaders swinging their dick.
I mean, you're
And so,
right.
no, I don't think we should get involved. I think we should let them fucking sort their own shit. But they're strategic to us. They're a buffer between, Western Europe and Russia. So, that's why, NATO is getting involved, which means the United States has to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And the EU is sending weapons to the Ukraine, and it's all a bunch of hokey bullshit, man.
I think, though, I really,
Like I said, war
I
never
think they
changes.
wanted Ukraine to fall. I think everybody did. I really do.
Who
Like Biden, for one, Biden. If Ukraine burns down to the ground, then none of that.
destroys the evidence about his shenanigans with his son?
Yes, that's one. And then two, you just notice how long it took them to. Dude, that shit happens. If you really gave a shit about that country, you would have just full blown sanctions, or you would have just kept the same. Remember, day one, week one, Biden lifted the restriction on Nord Stream 2. It's almost like, right, to get too conspiracy theorist, like it's like
You're rocking back and forth looks really fucking weird with your the
does
way
it?
you're.
I'm looking at the
Yeah.
screen. It doesn't look too bad over here, but this chair is very uncomfortable. Um, please send your $45 a day to me so I can go back into the good hotel with the good internet and the good chair. But dude, it's like why'd you turn Nord Stream 2 back on? Why'd you do that? Why'd you turn off the Keystone? Why didn't you, you know, when the shit did happen, why didn't you sanction everything, put everything back on the table immediately? This is and then as far as the other European countries, like they took their time getting weapons there. Like during the I'm sure it'll come out later, but during the Olympics, the guy was staging the shit and he was just waiting for the ending, closing ceremony before making a move. And the thing is like when you look at things like this that happen, right? It was like when 9/11 happened, like initially we don't know shit. And then 20 years later, 15, 20 years later, we're like, oh, we knew this was going to happen. Or we had a lot of evidence that said something like this would happen. And we didn't do anything. It's like, well, why didn't we do anything? Well, we didn't know where or when. And it's like, yeah, bullshit. Bullshit. I call bullshit. And you got to sit there and you got to think, like, well, if the European country, if the U.S. knew or had a good idea, or if any, G8 country, any NATO country fucking knew, then the US knew. And they didn't do anything. And now it's like, it seems to me like they're doing this to save face, right? It's like, oh shit, well, we better show like we care because Russia just didn't steamroll through it. Like, these guys are actually putting up a fight. How long can they put up a fight? Who knows? But it's like you kind of want to see your friend get his ass kicked, and then you're like, oh shit. You sit there and you think you're like, okay, well, if I don't actually try, if I don't throw an elbow in there, pull one of the guys off of him, then the next time my friend sees me, it's not going to be a really good conversation. And I feel that's kind of what's going on. Like they're like, okay, well, we're going to send you weapons, and we're going to stage NATO troops in these areas in case it. Yeah, but dude, like, so I had this radical theory. Okay, and this might get us banned. But I was just thinking, I was like, dude, I bet you Vladimir Putin is gay. Right? There's nothing wrong with that, but I bet you he's gay. You want to hear why?
Why?
He's not married, right? You never see him with a woman. He's the most
He
powerful.
was.
Huh?
He was.
He's not married, but I mean, gay people get married to women. It happens. They have kids. It happens. But he's the most powerful man in Russia. He wins every election. No questions asked. No election fraud, nothing. And it's like, it's illegal to be gay in Russia. And I bet you he's like, obviously he's got an extreme amount of power, but he can't openly be gay. And now I'm not saying this is why he's invading countries. I just have a crazy theory that Vladimir Putin.
I think that's a crazy theory. He was married.
I don't mean shit. Don't mean shit.
And he's.
They don't even mean shit if he's gay and had kids.
Well, then they could use the same argument that Trump's gay.
Probably, but Trump can openly be gay in the U.S. and nobody would get executed. But people get executed for being gay in Russia. But just imagine how frustrating that would be. You're the most powerful man. I don't know. Who's the most powerful? Is it Xi Jinping or is it Vladimir Putin? Who's got the bigger dick?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know.
Probably Russia.
Probably Russia. So he's the most powerful guy in Asia, and he can't be openly gay. And everything is no. I'm not saying this is why he's invading. I'm just saying like I get this feeling like he is, and it's like, bro, I feel for you. Not that I'm gay, but that sucks. So yeah, we're gonna get banned for that. We'll probably get suspended, but that's my crazy theory. That's pretty crazy, right? You know what? You're gonna think about that, and you're gonna let it metastasize, and then you're gonna message me, and you're gonna be like, you know what? I could see some validity to that crazy theory.
You know what? I'm looking, and Russia does not have. People don't get executed in Russia for being gay. However, there are extrajudicial killings. Mm-hmm. It's not legal to kill gay people, or it is not a crime warning the death penalty. It's and the crime is like homosexual propaganda. So being out and proud, I guess. I don't know what they consider that, but it's people. But they're not going after people who do kill gay people.
No, you're right. But people do get killed for being gay there. I mean, I'm sure they get killed in the U.S.
People get killed for being gay here.
I know, but it not like Russia. Not like and you. There's a whole month that gay people get to be like proud of being gay. Which I'm not saying anything against. I'm just saying like you're the most powerful man in Asia, and you're gay, and you can't openly be gay. That must really suck. Because I don't really think. I don't know. I think he's gay.
I don't think he's gay.
I think he's gay. 60 years from now, 40 years from now, he might be dead in 40 years. Maybe it'll come out like some people in the cabinet will come out and be like, oh yeah, we had to sneak people in, and nobody can speak out against them or they get disappeared. Nobody can tell, oh yeah, he's gay, and yeah, maybe Trump's gay, but Trump has that option to openly be gay. Maybe Biden's gay. Maybe Obama's gay. Maybe they're all gay. But you can be gay and not be, persecuted. And if you're persecuted, then there's recourse, whether you're alive or not when that happens. How long do you think this war is going to last? I guess at least how long is it going to take for Russia to invade Ukraine, or is Russia not going to finish invade? Like, what's your bold
I don't
strategy.
think they're planning on going past Kiev. I think they want the point. I think Russia's point is to knock down the seat of power, and then they're going to walk away. Not walk away, but
Put their puppet back up.
yeah, their puppet or our puppet. Whose puppet? You know, they're all fucking puppets.
Because I heard that was one of the things when they had that last election. They got rid of it. Well, they ousted the Russian puppet, right?
Right, and instead installed the United States puppet.
Mm-hmm. Just now, Germany to send Ukraine weapons to fight Russia. Cool. I got the news on right there because I'm awesome.
Yeah, so like last year, Ukrainian forces shelled Yelenovka,
Mm-hmm.
which is the point that basically where humanitarian aid went to the Donbass region, and basically stopped the UN Red Cross from bringing in relief supplies, aid supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So that they're doing that. They're also just constantly shelling civilian areas because they're separatists. They don't want to be part of that world. They are mostly, those regions are mostly Russian speaking and want their own world, and that's what was supposed to have happened with the Minsk agreements. But
So when the Soviet Union dissolved and Ukraine became its own state, you're telling me there were parts of the Ukraine that
that didn't
wanted.
want to be part of Ukraine.
Well, hmm, why didn't they move? I don't know. It's ignorant of me to say that. So
Oh,
they.
that's their ancestral homes,
Mm-hmm.
and they just wanted their own government. They didn't want to be beholden to Kiev.
Hmm. This seems like maybe some of this could have been alleviated if maybe Ukraine would
Everybody
have
left
just.
everybody the fuck alone. Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, you say that. I'm telling you, that shit does not work. It does not work here. It doesn't work anywhere else in the world. Nobody. And the thing is like when somebody doesn't leave somebody alone, someone can't keep their hands to themselves. You can't ignore that because it sets a precedence where it's like, well, he's doing this, I can do that, and the next, it's monkey see, monkey do. Somebody's got to have the big dick on the table to say, all right, enough. You know, whether it's sanctions, whether it's killing some people, I don't know. I think in our best interest, we just play arms dealer, right? We just sell weapons, see how it goes. Because the dude's threatening to ready up his nukes or something like that, right? Get his nukes ready.
honestly, I think it would. I don't want to say it would be a good thing, but I think it'd be a wake up call for the entire world if a couple of nukes went off. And I think countries would actually take pause it, take a beat, and say, oh, whoa, hold on, let's just take a beat, and shit would simmer down.
I don't know. You're talking about millions of people dying. I don't think
Yeah,
anybody's gonna let that go. We didn't let 3,000 lives go peacefully. Like we fought two wars over that and lost another 3,000 people. So you're talking about millions of people possibly dying immediately, and then the fallout. And we're just gonna. I mean, any country. Like shit. If it happened to France, I hope France would want to go to war and try to win a war actually without anybody's help. I don't know. You know what? Okay. Here's the good thing about it. I think the good thing is I think we would stop sitting there and acting all haughty, and we'd realize that there's just bad people in the world. People say there's no such thing as a bad race, or they're like, okay, I agree with that, but there are bad cultures. Not all cultures are created equal.
No,
I don't know,
if a
dude.
nuke, I would, if a nuke went off, I would wager that we'd have at least one of ours going off as well.
I get that. I'm saying the good might be people would wake up, right? So you got all these educated elite people that just know everything and know that there's peace and harmony, and it's always, if we just reduce our carbon emissions, or if we just do this, if we just if we just do all these things, like, no, dude, like, there's always going to be bad people in the world, and they're always going to want to infringe on your freedom, right? Like, if the doctrine of just leave everybody alone worked, you wouldn't need a gun, you wouldn't need any of that shit, you wouldn't need a tank. But it doesn't work. That's why you have a gun. That's why you have a lot of guns. That's why you have a tank. Like, that's the point. Is you have that shit there, so you need it. And these people don't realize that shit. Even people in France and Germany and the UK, like us as a Western society, we are so bored. We have too much time on our hands, and all we do is think of ways to cut our own fucking tail off.
You know what? Here's one where that it might actually be good. Imagine if a nuke went off at the location of the Bilderberg meeting,
Okay.
and just a small one. So I mean, yes, sure, of course, it's going to be collateral damage, but less than like one of the big ones that we've got and Russia's got and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But think about that. If suddenly the world's elite were just vaporized,
And their children, like everybody was there.
if
You know,
everybody at the meeting,
Chelsea and the rich banker guy she married, and Bill and Hillary, and
do they go to that meeting?
well, I'm saying, like, the ideology doesn't stop with them. Like, you think
Well,
Chelsea went?
no. But think about it.
Okay.
That I think that would be a wake up call to the rich elite who are puppet stringing the world. That holy shit. Okay, we aren't untouchable.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be awesome, right? I
You
don't.
want to redistribute wealth, this is purely speculation. I am not advocating violence of any type or any sort of, yeah. But imagine for a moment, everyone's talking about redistributing the wealth of all the elite and blah blah blah. Well, if everybody at the Bilderberg meeting was nuked and vaporized, they could take all that money and just distribute it out equally to everyone. Sure, it won't seem like as much to citizens of the United States as it would to the citizens in Somalia, but yeah, fuck it.
I think Elon Musk said something about the redistribution of wealth. I think it was Elon. I feel like on the show I misquote people or missay things, but I do it with good intentions just to make a point. I think it was Elon that said, he feels like if you redistributed the wealth, give it like 10 or 20 years, the rich people would be rich again. And it's
Yeah.
just because they have some kind of, they know how to make money. The rest of us, like we'd either be basically back where we were before we got the money. Like we would have bought a helicopter, or we would have bought houses we had no business buying, or we would have blown it all on fucking booze and coke and hookers. You know, I think there's some merit to that. I don't think you can just throw money at certain people and expect them to keep it. Because there's a lot of stories where people win the lottery and then they're broke years
Mm-hmm.
down the road because they don't know how to make money, and they don't know how to spend money. They don't know how to
Yeah,
track.
if we, my wife and I have already had the discussion. If we ever win the lottery, we're telling no one.
Well,
The first thing that would happen is a trust would be created to, and an attorney would be marched out for any photos and stuff like that as a representative of the trust.
mm,
And then we buy a chunk of land, the rest would go in investments, and
Yeah, that's a good plan. It briefs well on paper, but I think there's a lot of states. I think especially with the Powerball, I think the winner has to be announced. I think that's like the law.
Yes, and the winner would be the fuck you. I'm not giving you my name trust, and a representative from the trust would waltz their ass out there.
Hmm. Yeah, but every place that sells a ticket has a security camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they would, unless you send that trust guy out there to buy the ticket, like you're someone's gonna find out it was. But I'm shocked that you would make a trust though. I figured the first thing you would have done, well, you'd make the trust, right, and then you would, at some point you would just turn your liquid assets into like precious metals or something, right?
Well, the reason for the trust is to be the owner of the ticket,
Hmm.
and then my wife and I would be the trustees, and then we'd get money paid out to us by the trust,
Hmm.
and then that would go to tangible securities or
But all that
whatever.
stuff would still be public knowledge to some extent. Like it would take a minute for people to, the Freedom of Information Act, and they would find out who the trustees of the board were, and then they would be like, it was the Drakes, you know. Let me get a loan. I mean, people aren't stupid. They figure it out. They'd be like, just, hey, that big plot of land, somebody just bought it. Who bought that? Are they financing? No, they bought it up cash. Then, in a couple months, it shows up in the public record. This trust bought this land, and then people get to wondering, who the fuck are those people? And then maybe the local news runs a segment on it. You know, who knows, man? Like they'll find out. They'll find out.
But by that point, we'll have a huge plot of land
Mm.
and the compound with the barbed wire and the moat and the minefield and
The alligators with laser beams.
yep.
Hmm. Speaking of that, would you? Okay, so you win the lottery. Would you put some of that into crypto?
If I won the lottery and didn't care, I probably would. But I've got a little bit in crypto. I don't think it's going to be. I mean, like for even Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most solid right now. I don't think that there is still nothing backing it. It's like another. Um, the only value it has is the value it has is still based on the dollar, and while it can fluctuate like precious metals based on what people do, what happens to the dollar.
Hmm.
I don't think it's if I would put I would sure I'd put some in crypto just as an investment because there's going to be other dumbasses and whatnot, but I'd put more into gold than I would into crypto.
Yeah, and I agree.
I have more invested in metal than I do in crypto.
And I totally like. I was watching it was like a 1 hour and a half segment where I forgot the guy's name. I have to go dig it up.
Machine guns are a great investment.
Well, obviously, yes, but the guy
I
was
mean,
like trying to
just
trying to sell me
just
crypto.
5 years ago, a full auto sear for an MP5 trigger pack was, I believe, around $15,000, and now they're about 25,000.
It's a solid investment.
Yep.
Shockingly,
The
because
only, I was going to say the only problem with that is that my wife's rebuttal is always, well, it's only an investment if you're willing to sell it.
she right.
So yeah, and she's absolutely correct.
But yeah, my biggest thing, like I get what you're saying about the crypto. I just the whole point of like investing in something outside of the dollar is worst case scenario. Okay, the fall of the dollar is not even a worst case scenario, right? It's not, right? The marks fell after the World War. and the sanctions put on them, and eventually the marks were worth something, right? So if you were, right after World War II, and you were just picking up, because there's pictures of like marks just laying in the street, and you pick up those marks, at some point, like they're going to be worth something. And the reason I can't get my mind around crypto is because it's tied to a wallet. And there was that guy that had a bunch of bitcoins that is locked out of his wallet. He's got like two more password attempts, or he's permanently locked out of that money. So that's one. And then two is worst case scenario, nukes go off. What happens when nukes go off? EMPs. What happens with EMPs? You fucking zap grids. So if your money is tied to the value of a digital currency and there's no electricity, like how are you bartering guns and food and cots? And, like it's to me, I get it. I think crypto is just more like it's a more secure bond or stock in the sense that it would be like if you could take your stock, like let's say you have stock in Apple or something, and instead of going to the store and buying your next vehicle with a checkbook or credit card or cash, you just tell the guy, I will trade you X amount of Apple stocks. And that dealership makes a deal. And on some days it may be 10 Apple stocks, and on some days it may be 12, and on some days it may be 8. And so that is what, like, crypto is so volatile right now. For one, I look at it, it's a stock investment. And for two, and most importantly, the worst case scenario, you have Ethereum, crypto, Doge, and the power goes out for a long period of
Do you
time.
mean Dogecoin?
Doge, Doggy, Doji,
Doge.
Doge, Dogecoin,
Yeah.
whatever. But that's my point. Like, why did people not think it? Like, that's why I said, dude, I think precious metals will always be more valuable than any fiat currency or any secure encrypted stock, because that's the way I look at crypto. I mean, do you agree, disagree? You got a rebuttal to that?
No, I think it's just. I mean, the benefit to crypto is the secure transactions relatively instantaneously with anyone in the world who wants to use that same currency. Um, it's not something that I'm that interested in. I mean, I actually would like to talk to someone and learn a lot more about why they believe that it'll still hold value if the dollar collapses or whatever. Or okay, you've got one Bitcoin that's worth $100 million, but the dollar is no longer used because we're using euros now. Or hell, if things go the way Putin wants, we using rubles, whatever. But either way, it's still based on the dollar, and would that financial system needs to be in place for crypto to still have value.
So in reality, it's actually based on oil. Because
So
remember,
yeah, the benefit to it all is just, well, to an extent, the ability to make these transactions without traceability.
but you can do that with cash, though, right? Like if you have cash and you pay in cash, nobody knows where you spent the cash. They just know that you withdrew the cash, right?
To a point, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh yeah, yeah,
can you transfer cash to someone across the world without?
yeah. You're right. I got you. Okay.
So and that's really the main benefit of it is government not being able to nose around what you're doing, and that's absolutely right. I think they need to fucking let people conduct business without interfering.
Mm. Speaking of which, you do your taxes.
Did I do my theft report?
Yeah. Did you do your taxes?
Yes.
Mm.
No, actually, my wife did.
Yeah. I did my taxes back in the end of January. I got my shit back, and I'm using my shit to pay for a house. But oh God,
One of the chunks of property we're looking at has 2 other 20-acre parcels right next to it.
Mhm. No,
Just saying.
I'll be retiring in a few years, dude. A couple years.
It'll take that long for you to get a house built there.
Mm. When do you start paying on the house? Do you start paying on the house once it's done being built?
Well, no. I mean, so you buy a chunk of land.
Uh-huh.
If you buy just a chunk of land, you get a land loan.
Uh-huh.
Then you get a construction loan to build said property or build your house. And in that construction loan, then you typically pay off the land loan. And then once it's built, then you get it's essentially like a refinance kind of thing, from my understanding.
So you buy the land and you immediately start paying on the land. And let's say it takes you like 2 years to get your house built, your dream house.
So wait, well, hold on a second. No, it takes 2 years before you start building it.
No, like from start to finish, right? So you get the loan approval for the land, then you turn around and then you go and you get it designed, and then you get it approved by, I guess, some fucking county guy that's got to say, yeah, that's a safe construction, right? Looks at your plans or whatever, and then you start building it, and from that time till the time your house is complete, let's say it's 2 years. I mean, I don't think that's a bad
So it's
estimate.
when you start building it is when you do the construction loan.
Right. So you do the loan. So you start paying on that loan before the house is even completed. That's what my
Right.
question.
I mean, you're paying because you're paying on the loan on the land, and then got to pay the construction people. I mean, or you could pay the people to construct the house cash, and keep it as a land loan.
Uh-huh. Right. Interesting.
Yeah, we're going through that whole process right now, and the problem is, a lot of the construction places require information that you got to get from the land places, but the land places require information about from the construction things, and it's back and forth. So we're going back and forth trying to figure out stuff with loans and whatnot. And all I want to do is just have 20 acres, get that plot of 20 acres, put my house right there, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, I figured like it would take about a couple years. So but that's just tricky because if you're actively paying a mortgage, then you're going to be paying a land note and you're going to be paying a house note before you even get rid of the first house that you were living in. I guess
right.
that's pretty complicated.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell you do that?
Make more money.
Make more money. Make more Dogecoin.
Or have cash buy the land outright, kind of thing.
20 acres though? Holy cow. I don't know how much it goes for where you're looking, but 20 acres, like where I was looking in Texas, I wasn't even looking at 20. I was looking at 10, and 10 was well over 6 digits, like just easily.
Yeah, I think the 20 acres we're looking at is like 375.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's also a smaller 3.5 acre that we've been looking at. That's 200.
And then the shitty part about that is you buy the land, but you don't even have all the rights to the land. So some guy, I may have 100 acres. I'm going to pinch off 20 of those acres. I'm going to sell you the land. It's your land to shoot or do whatever you do on it, but I still have the mineral rights.
Yeah, it depends on the paperwork. You can say, fuck no. I want the mineral rights, the water rights, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But this 375, the 20 acres that we're looking at, the 3.5 acres is basically ready to go, ready to build.
It's already got the lines out there.
It's got power. It's got power, water, sewer, internet.
So you're not living off the grid.
No, I mean, it's only 3.5 acres. You're definitely not living off the fucking grid.
Okay.
And if we moved there, it would be a temporary move. It would not be a permanent.
How would that change if you went from a 3.5 to a 20 plot? Like, how would that? So you live on a 20-acre plot. How are you living off the grid now? Like magically, you just have more real estate. So,
Well, magically, you have more space, so you can actually grow your own food.
hmm
Um, you have enough, you have enough space that you can grow a large enough or have enough a big enough garden to sustain yourself. And
yep.
although 3.5 acres is probably big enough to do the garden, but it doesn't have any southern exposure, so you can't do an effective solar panel power system. Um,
hmm
the 20 acres does have good southern exposure, and let's see. So so there's that. You have your own septic and well instead of being on the city lines or whatever. The 20-acre property has wells are included in that price. So wells are in the process of being dug. They started earlier this year, but then they had a thaw, so they had to stop it because it was tearing up the ground, and they're going to continue in May. Or yeah, May. Or it's supposed to be finished in May, I guess. I don't know, but the wells are supposed to be done. Um, Power is out there already. Um, or to the main spot, and it needs to be split out or something. But I guess conduits are going to be run for phone and internet when they do the power to each individual parcel.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's not gonna be it's gonna be a minute before I can even sit there and toy with that idea. And again, I don't know about moving to Idaho because y'all got state tax and it's cold as fuck up there, and my blood is way too thin to be moving up there. But we'll see. Plus, Trudeau's like right around the corner. Trudeau's in your backyard, bro.
Oh man, just in case if those Canadians invade, we're in trouble.
Well, now I'm not talking about them invading. I'm talking about those Canadian refugees you're going to be having trespassing into your land. So, um,
I'd be
yeah.
taking a couple undocumented Canadian workers to work my farmland. They're used to farming in the snow, frost covered ground.
Well, they don't farm in the snow. They just fucking hang it up. Like they just hang it up, and they get paid basically a salary, like a stipend from the government for whatever they're farming, and they just sit on that shit throughout the winter, and then hope to God there was enough snow to wet the soil to start the next crop. Right? That's how it works. But yeah. Anything else you wanted to touch base with, sir? Because I gotta cut it short. I got PT in the morning.
Cut it short. You mean on time?
Yeah, actually, yes. 5 minutes over.
No, nothing really. I just covered it. I think the media is. Have you ever watched Hunger Games?
Yes. Ouch.
I do believe the next wars or the wars we'll be fighting are going to be propaganda wars, and that's what's happening right now. You saw in those movies, the propaganda wars going on and stuff like that. No, this and that, and really, the moral of that story is all types of leaders are bad.
In the
people
Hunger
who
Games
want
universe, yeah.
people who want power are typically not suited to hold it.
Except Ron DeSantis. He's pretty damn good with that shit.
We'll see.
Oh, apparently somebody dropped that in the Discord that Trump's running again. So that should be interesting.
Is it confirmed?
Well, that's what the dude dropped the tweet, the picture of the tweet. It took me a minute. It was like I didn't understand it, and then I got it, and I was like, oh, I guess this means that Trump's running in 2024. So
Do you think he'll win the primary?
he'll win the primary easily.
You think?
Yeah. But again, you're talking about if it was today. I don't know. Like that's the thing is, um, you know, Ron DeSantis is a really good candidate, and I'm not a Florida resident. I just see how he let people keep their freedoms and how he fought Twitter and how he fought the misinformation from the media. You know everything. Like so, if you ask me who should be the nod today, it should be Ron DeSantis, hands down. If he wanted to run. But again, that's like when you ask me, there's a football game and there's teams playing. It's like, okay, who do you want to win? Well, I want the red team to win. Well, who do you think will win? Well, the blue team's a better team, so they'll probably win. Who do I want to win? Who do I want to run? I would want DeSantis to run. Right now, everything's going well for him. You don't know in another 2 years what's going to happen. You don't know if something, maybe his wife, because his wife's fighting cancer, maybe something goes on with that and he resigns as governor or something. You never know, right? And so right now, I would want Ron DeSantis. If you were to do a primary today, Trump would win, hands down. But again, as Trump is out
You
of
think if they announce a Republican primary right now and it's Ron DeSantis versus Trump, Trump would win?
hands down, hands down. Now, the next person on the list, like you're talking about any potential. You're talking about Pence. You're talking about Haley. You're talking about DeSantis. You're talking about Cruz. You're talking about the other guy. Like DeSantis is the next candidate. So, but I think, and this is what I said, I think as time goes on, I think people do miss Trump, but at the same time, I think as time goes on, Trump becomes less relevant because he's not the president anymore. So yeah, he'll make appearances, he'll have rallies, he'll say things, he'll issue official office statements from his Mar-a-Lago resort or whatever, but he's just not relevant because he's not in office. And DeSantis is in office and he's doing shit and he's on the news every day. DeSantis is signing bills into law against CRT, against gender hormone therapy for kids. He's doing this.
I thought that was in Texas.
Well, I'm just telling you, that was in Texas, but I'm saying Ron DeSantis is relevant because he is a governor governing. Trump is not relevant because he's playing golf and he does shows here and there. So I think as we get closer to the primary, I think that gap will close because I think if you ran it today, Trump would win by like 30 points. I think he would, and I think that's just because you have the diehard Trumpers, and then you also have people that are starting to see like maybe a little bit more logically the error of their ways, and maybe they would vote for Trump because like the greatest thing that happened, which was a terrible way to look at it, was that a lot of independents and some Democrats are going to be voting Republican this midterm because of just how terrible the governance has been. Trump would win. Trump would win today. In 2 years, it's hard to tell. In 2 years, it may be DeSantis found out a way to cure cancer, or maybe DeSantis fell off. Maybe he had a sex scandal. So he's definitely, you know what I mean? You don't know. You really don't.
So there's also been rumors that Hillary's going to run again. So if it was face off between Trump and Hillary today,
yeah,
you think Trump would win still?
Yes, I think he would win because
you hear that? That's why I don't have cats in here.
I did. I think he would win because I think there is either the same percentage of people that hate Hillary Clinton now, or there's a greater. I don't think less people hated Hillary Clinton, and I don't think that there's enough love for the blue party because remember, like California is always going to be blue, New York's always going to be blue, Illinois is always going to be blue. It's all the other shit in between that kind of matters. Florida's going to be red, Texas is kind of going to be red. There's some states that are gimmies. And Hillary would just not campaign. So the rest of the states,
like Arizona.
What about Arizona?
Like Arizona, that are
yeah,
historically red, but
yeah. And so what I'm saying is, like when Hillary lost, I think there was just a lot of people that didn't vote because they were just like, fuck Hillary. Like, this is my option. Like, I wanted Bernie Sanders, right? They wanted Bernie, and so they were. Now you have this revelation coming out with the Durham report that she's a lot more dirtier than these people. Like, we knew she was dirty. We knew she was dirty. We said, look how she handled Benghazi. Look how she handled classified information. Look how she answered questions to Congress. Like,
Trump's doing the same kind of shady shit with classified information.
that was a rumor. That really was a rumor. That didn't happen.
What? He didn't take classified info to his Florida sprawl.
No. Like, what I'm saying is, it's a rumor that has not been confirmed. That is something that is like the other day. What did I see? I saw one where there was a rumor, well, fake media. They basically said that Trump said that Putin, what he was doing was awesome or it was epic. And I saw a lot of people posting, like, either like some article or they paraphrase what they read off the headline alone. And the thing was, I actually listened to the interview. So, Rush Limbaugh had a show. Rush Limbaugh died. There's two guys that fill in his time slot. It's a guy named Clay and Buck Sexton, right? And one of them's some dude. The other one's like an ex-CIA guy. So these two guys basically are the newer generation of Rush. They sit in Rush's time slot, and they got Rush's audience. They had Trump on, and they did like a 30-minute interview with him. And I listened to the first 15 minutes because it was on my way to work. During that interview, like that portion of the interview, he talked about, and we all know who Trump is. Even you didn't vote for Trump, and you would never vote for Trump, and that's fine. But you know what he is? He's a fucking troll, and he's an asshole, and he's aggressive, and he's boisterous. Like, he's a lot of things, right? So the way that he said it, it was sarcasm. It was clearly sarcasm. He was just like, oh, and this and this and this and this. And these news people ran with that shit. So that's what they're doing with this classified thing. They're saying that, I even saw an article where they were saying Trump's people were flushing documents down the toilet before Biden's people, when
No. I'm talking about this the shit he took to Mar-a-Lago.
It has not been confirmed. I wouldn't believe it. If it comes out, because if it comes out that it happened, then it happened. But I mean, remember,
there are 15 boxes recovered from there.
I heard the part about the boxes. I didn't hear a part about like electronic digital information on servers there. So, I mean, dude, you asked me if he did do that, then he violated the law. Maybe there should be some kind of punitive damages. Maybe he should be fined, or maybe something. I don't know, but I can tell you that I think enough people hated Hillary Clinton, and I don't think that number has gone down. I don't think less people hate Hillary. Dude, all she does is whinge and complain about how she should have been president. Like, I hate people that do that. Oh, that should have been my Super Bowl. That should have. Okay, we get it. You really wanted to win, and you didn't. I really want.
Her turn.
Huh?
It was her turn.
It was her turn, and I wrote a letter, and I was gonna read it, so I'll read it now because I didn't get to read it. That, like, dude, like, stop it. You entitled piece of shit. I think even the independents. I think more independents hate her now than they did then. And I think the Bernie bros, they fucking hate her. Like, there's a lot of people that hate her, and I don't think that number's gone down.
I think the Bernie bros are all bailing from the Democrats. I think they're all joining like the new, People's Party or whatever the fuck.
That's good. I mean, as you said, we needed more than one party. And as like, fucking, I don't know though. Remember, Andrew Yang was supposed to change things up, and then he became a shill, and then eventually he jumped ship too. He was just like, okay, well, I'm not like, yeah, dude, you were never gonna be anything in the Democratic Party. But no, I don't think Hillary is a candidate you run. Period. I think they have to get like a Tulsi Gabbard kind of. If they really want to hold the president office after Biden, they got to get somebody like Tulsi Gabbard. But I don't know, like, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, she pissed off the Democrats.
So they're not going to run her. So they have to get somebody like her. And if you got somebody like her, you wouldn't get like the AOCs on board. You wouldn't get the AOCs, the Bernies, the squad. You wouldn't get those votes. And it's just so at this point you basically have to fracture the party between extreme left and left. Basically, like, ultraviolet and blue. That's what you have. You'd have an ultraviolet, like, extreme, and then you have like a blue party. But I don't know who you run. I really don't. And again, a lot can change in 2 years. Maybe, like maybe what's his nuts? Who's that fucking the Dallas Mavericks owner? You know what I'm talking
Mark
about?
Cuban.
Yeah, maybe he fucking runs, right? Maybe he runs as a Democrat, and maybe that's what the Democrats need to get, the presidency for another 4 years. And maybe he actually brings some good policies. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But maybe it's the Democrats' turn to run a Trump, and maybe that's their Trump. I don't know. I just know that you're not going to get it with Kamala. You're not going to get it with Biden. You're sure as hell not going to get it with, like, I don't know. Let me ask you this. Out of those three candidates, who are people more likely to vote for? Biden, Harris, or Hillary? Your opinion.
Out of those three, Hillary.
Really?
Because you've got the longtime old school Democrats who'd support her.
Vote blue no matter who?
You'd vote blue no matter who. You've got the the younger ones look at they've seen Biden in action. They've seen Kamala in action. And if they had to choose between the three, maybe Hillary could get something done. So I think out of those three, I think Hillary has the best shot.
Well, I will say out of those three, I don't think any of them beat Trump. I don't. But, the way that...
I don't know. There are a lot of vote blue no matter who folk out there.
Yeah, there are, but I do remember Trump only lost by 40,000 votes, and that was... I'm not saying that the election was rigged. I'm not saying it was stolen. I'm just saying there was a lot of fucking funny business going on. And if there wasn't a pandemic, then it sure as hell, maybe Trump would have only lost by like 2,000 votes. That shit that happened in Philadelphia was shady. The shit that happened in fucking Michigan was shady. The shit that happened in Georgia was shady. All that shit was fucking shady. Never had happened. Or at least we had not been privy to information of that nature. So,
I'm not one for giving information and ID to the government, but
well,
I'm think like if they like if you when you vote you like stamp your thumbprint next to your name when you sign in.
Yeah, but that's still personally identifiable information. It's biometric data.
No, right. And that's what I'm saying. I'm reluctant to say this because I don't like the government having that type of information. However, your right thumbprint is taken whenever you get a driver's license or ID. Mm-hmm. So use that.
But not a driver license.
I'm just saying, if you don't have regular ID or something like that, then, stamp your thumbprint. And
but I mean,
those can stand in and compare to other thumbprints and like, wait a second, this one's got a 50% match. At least have them flag at 50% and then they get manually reviewed or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have to bite your thumb and put a blood sample. Maybe they do DNA or I don't fucking know.
I want to do DNA.
You use your driver license to buy a plane ticket. You use your driver license to buy alcohol. You use a driver license to buy a weapon. You use a driver's license to basically do everything. Everything. And if you don't have a driver's license, then you can't buy alcohol legally. You can't buy tobacco legally. You can't.
You don't have to have a driver's license. You just have to have a state ID.
That's what I'm saying. Like in a nutshell, if you don't have an ID,
dude, you're preaching to the choir. I'm not arguing against identification for voting.
Yeah.
I think but I think there are other ways of if they're going to do that. Like I said before, they need to address the issue of people who don't have identification.
And I'm telling you, I think
a little old lady coming in, with they're gonna, dude. I haven't been carded. I don't know how long for booze. So,
Mm-hmm.
if my ID expired 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I just couldn't afford to get another one, but I had enough money for beer.
You have enough money for a license. It's $15.
I'm just saying, if I didn't have the money for it or whatever, I had other priorities with my money,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't necessarily need one to get by. Or I just live, if I live in the woods, and since I live in the woods and I don't drive anywhere and I don't go anywhere and I just sit there on my property just farming away, and
But
my license expires, and
yeah, but your license expired and now you want to go vote. So how are you going to get out of the middle of nowhere to go voting? You're going to drive. And if you're going to drive, you legally need to possess a valid state driver's license to do that.
I could have a neighbor drive me.
Okay, so now your
Like a
neighbor drove
hitchhike.
you and you know you want to vote and you know you're going to need a license and
I'm just saying though, if I'm living, I inherit this chunk of land. I'm not making any money. All I'm doing is farming and living off the land, and that's it.
they get it. There should be, and I said that. I said that originally. We had this discussion back when the election was all sketchy, like the December and January after November season, after November voting month.
But I'll also reiterate that I give no fucks. And if I lived off the land and had my plot of land and stuff, I probably, wouldn't waste my time.
Until a nuke lands in your backyard because you have a feckless leader as a president, and then you're like, man, I should have voted for the asshole that said he was going to bomb Moscow if they got out of line. But again, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a toss up who they're going to run, and I said like I think they have to get out of like I'm not saying they have to get out of the establishment. I think a lot of those rich guys that are Democrats, I think they're part of the establishment, but they're going to have to get like a Trump. They're going to have to get a powerhouse to run. Like Hillary won't get him across the finish line. Joe won't get Joe might not even get across the finish line himself to the end of his presidency. There are times like that I see those speeches he gives.
We're coming up to the point where I think, or where my prediction was that the transition of power would take place, that Harris would step up and become the president, and then she'd actually run things and whatnot and act like a good president. But I'm starting to have doubts about that now because she's such an inane VP.
She is so terrible. Like one thing I said, like Mike Pence was very well spoken. The guy could have been an idiot, but like you heard that guy talk and you were just like, wow, he's like the white version of Obama. The way he's very articulate. No, the way that Obama spoke, everybody, he was so articulate. He was very presidential. Pence was a good speaker. But yeah, whatever. Final word, sir.
Taxation is theft. Delete your social media. And don't cry. And I'm not advising you to do this in any way, shape, or form, but shed no tears if the Bilderberg Group meeting just happened to go up in a mushroom cloud.
And that's going to get us more likely to
I'm not advocating it.
No, I'm not either, but I'm saying I thought my whole gay comments were going to get us like taken off the network, get it off the channel. But no, that's probably going to get us taken off, hands down.
What? I'm not advocating. I'm just saying shed no tears.
And then when it happens, they're going to come looking for us. So please send all inquiries to blah, 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 blah. So, but yeah, well, with that being said, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share the video, leave a comment.
Your social media.
Yeah, all that stuff he said. And y'all take care of yourselves. It's
word of mouth. Just tell your friends. Just say don't use social media. Just tell your friends face to face. These fuckers are all right. You should give them a listen.
Yeah.
But delete your social media because that is the worst fucking thing to happen to humanity. God damn.
Yes. Well, we got to get out of here. Good show. We'll see y'all next week. I'm Jake.
I'm Drake.
This is Jake Drake Show.